lightning fast. We went all the way from the bottom of the guitar to the top. Okay, so in this video, we're gonna be talking about the coolest way to play the major scale, which I guarantee you've never seen before. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey, by the way, make sure you hit the like button. The approach that we're gonna take here is something called 4-note per string scale. Okay, so how are we going to construct this? Let's go through it really quick. So we're going to do this with the C major scale for right now. So the C major scale has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B in it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try to find the absolute lowest note out of those that are in the C major scale that we can play on the guitar. So if you just actually know the names of the strings on the guitar, you should know that the name of the lowest string on the guitar is E. And E happens to be found there in this major scale set of notes for the key of C. And you see there, it is the third note in the scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct a scale pattern that begins on that lowest possible note that we can find and then has 4 notes on each string. So from there, you should be able to figure out the next note is going to be F and then G and then A. So there we have 4 notes that are on one string, E, F, G, and A. Now, of course, we said that this is going to be 4 notes per string. So that's it. We're not going to play any more notes on that string. So now we have to figure out, first of all, what's the next note in the key? And then where is that note on the next string? And then we can go from there. So the next note in the key after A is going to be B. So we need to find a B on the 5th string and then keep going from there. So you should know that B is actually right here on the 2nd fret. So B, so there we're going to have a C, and then we're going to have a D, and then we're going to have another E. So actually, funny enough, it seems not the case, but it's actually the exact same interval pattern on both strings. We start off with a note, then go up 1 fret, and then skip a fret, and then skip another fret. That's the pattern. You see, it's actually the same pattern on the 6th string and on the 5th string. So with E, F, G, A, and then B, C, D, and E. So before we continue, let's talk really quick about how are we going to play as far as the fingering that we're going to use. And we're going to talk about some other things with picking later on once we get this whole pattern down. But let's talk about the fingering. First of all, you're pretty much gonna have to shift your hand over when you play these 4-note per string scale patterns. So there's 2 options that I like to use when it comes to shifting my hand over. So let's take that pattern that's on the 5th string since we're not using an open string there. So what I would do is play B and then just move my first finger up a fret to play C, and then use my 2nd finger to play D, and then my 4th finger, the pinky, to play E. So 1, 1, 2, and then 4 would be the fingering. You could also do something like this. B, C with the 2nd finger, D with the 4th finger, and then move the 4th finger up 2 frets. But it just depends on which one you prefer. Do you prefer to shift up just 1 fret and then have a little bit of a bigger stretch between C, D, and E? Or do you want less of a stretch, but then you have to shift up 2 frets, which is shifting up a little bit more than just the 1 fret shift of shifting over the 1st finger. So you're going to notice that there's going to be a lot of different finger combinations that you can possibly play these scale patterns with. And that's part of the process of practicing these, is that you want to explore all the different possibilities. And of course, once we start improvising with them, then, all bets are off. You're going to be skipping around notes and so on and so forth. So now we need to move to the 4th string. So the 4th string, the next note after E is going to be F. So F is going to be right there in the 3rd fret of the fourth string. Again, this is why you should know the notes on the fretboard before you even attempt to do something like this, because it's just going to take too long. It's going to be too confusing. So F, after that, you just look at the notes there on the left of the screen. You can just see the next four or the next three are going to be F, G, A, and then B. So this, now all of a sudden we have a different actual pattern here on the string. All the notes are all whole steps apart. F, G, A, B. So again, it's actually going to be sort of the same type of fingering. Do you want to shift the first finger up? And then use separate fingers to play the G, A, and the B? Or do you want to play F, G, A, and then move your pinky up? So it's up to you whether or not you want to do it. Also, let's talk a little bit, I guess, about the picking. You can slide up one of those notes. Or you can slide up the pinky. So that's one really cool way to take advantage of making it a little bit easier in the picking hand instead of having to alternate pick everything. Also, these are coincidentally very alternate picking friendly, because if you did alternate pick everything, it's literally just down, up on every string. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So in a weird sort of way, even though these patterns are a little bit more complex to visualize, they're very, very easy with the right hand, because you can either use some slides and legato, or alternate picking them is very, very straightforward. You don't have to start different strings with different picking directions. Okay, let's keep going a little bit quicker and complete off this pattern. So we got to B. Now we need to find a C on the third string. C in the third string is going to be right there. So this one's going to be a little bit more of a shift over. If you notice, like, we moved the fifth string, started on the second fret, then the fourth string started on the third fret, but now the third string is going to start all the way in the fifth fret. So C, and then we're going to go up D, E, F. So now you see this is a slightly different pattern again. So C, D, E, F. So we have those three notes that are whole steps apart, C, D, E, and then the half step is at the end of the pattern. So it's kind of like the opposite of the sixth string and the fifth string. The sixth string and the fifth string had the half step occur first and then whole steps. But now on the third string, we have the whole steps and then a half step right at the end. So this one, probably more often than not, I'm gonna end up just shifting the pinky up like that instead of shifting my first finger up. I also don't find it too hard to do that 5-fret stretch. Some of you may find that more difficult, and that's okay. You'll practice it, get better at it, but for right now, you can circumvent it a little bit. Okay, so now we're gonna actually shift up quite a bit more, because we're going to be starting on the 8th fret of the second string with this G note, because G is the next note in the key after F. So G, A, B, and then C. Oh, look at that. It's the exact same pattern as on the third string. So that's a little bit easier to remember. But it is shifted over quite a bit now. We actually started it 3 frets higher than we started it on the third string. And then we're almost done here. Last string. So we need to find the next note after C, which is going to be D. And that one's going to be on the 10th fret of the first string. So D, and then E, and then F, and then finally G. So there's our last unique pattern that's going to be on one string, where now the half step's in the middle of that string. So we have a whole step, D to E, and then F is right in the middle, a half step away, and then G over there. So now that we're getting really high in the fretboard, you can, depending on how comfortable you are with stretching, you could play this all with separate fingers. Or you could still use the shifting over technique. either shifting the first finger over or the fourth finger over. So this is why I think this is the coolest way to play the major scale, because now all of a sudden we have one fingering pattern that's taking us all the way, literally from the open sixth string all the way to this super high G note on the 15th fret of the first string. So now that we've got the pattern down, it's time to actually practice it a little bit and practice making some music with it and just getting the technical facility up. We're gonna put on some drums to do this. Remember, you should always put on some kind of drums or metronome in order to practice stuff when you first learn it. So we got it down. Let's try to alternate pick it. So again, you can down, up on every single string. You just down, up, down. So let's try that. So all of a sudden now, lightning fast, we went all the way from the bottom of the guitar to the top. Let's try that backwards now. So you should get yourself comfortable just with that, just playing it up and down with alternate picking. So now let's try practicing it with a slide. So I'll put a slide on the last note of each string. That's not really what we're gonna do on the sixth string, just because one of the notes is an open string. But then thereafter, on the fifth string, fourth string, every single thing after that, I'm gonna try to put a slide right at the end. So it'll sound like this. And then the picking pattern is gonna end up being down, up, down. So down, up, down, slide. 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 And then once we get to the top, we'll try to do it backwards. We'll put the slide still at the end, but with the first finger. And then we'll have to pick that last note there on the sixth string, since again, there is that one note that we do not actually pick. So let's see what that sounds like. You can see it sounds quite different. So once you've gotten your technical facility down pretty basically with that, it's time to actually do some improv with the scale. The whole point of this stuff is not to necessarily say, hey, you need to always play with these 4-note per string scales, but they're just another tool in your arsenal. And on top of that, once you start connecting these with your different 5 major scale patterns and the pentatonic scale, it just really, really opens up all the different possibilities on the fretboard so that you're not stuck in one area all the time when you are playing guitar solos. So if you want to learn how to master the guitar fretboard, learn how to figure out these scales in every single key so that you can use them in your solos, and not only that, all of the other things that you need to know in order to be able to take your playing and your soloing to the next level, make sure you head on over to Jamsville.com right now and check out the Jamsville GPS Fretboard Fundamentals course. This is going to be the best course that you've ever taken. It's going to completely change the way that you look at the guitar and change your playing. make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell notifications. It's super duper important to turn on those notifications or else you will not get notified whenever a new lesson comes out. So until next time, listen, learn, and jam.